Today we are going to talk about something that is profound and deep and a little bit emotional. Why some relationships in our life do not survive our growth. There's a moment in some relationships where nothing dramatic happens, nothing breaks, nothing ends, but you begin to feel that something no longer fits. Something very gently and softly feels off. The relationship feels familiar, comfortable, but off. I have felt this myself more than once in my life. Sitting across from someone I deeply care about and realizing that I'm adjusting, I'm modifying, I'm editing my reality or what I need to say. Or let me say, I'm softening what I really think and holding back what I really feel in the moment, becoming slightly different. And in the process, increasingly not feeling like me. But to keep the connection easy, it's necessary. To keep the connection safe, not authentic, but easy. And then the question that follows is very uncomfortable. Am I still being myself in this relationship? Did that land for the relationships in your life? Am I still being myself here? Or am I maintaining something which is obsolete already? Does this feel real and authentic? Or just something that feels familiar but no longer natural? Something that feels safe, there's no conflict, but you don't feel self-expressed. See, the principle is that growth does not always look like expansion. Sometimes growth also can and does look like friction with issues in your life that you thought you had resolved. What once felt was natural now feels like you have to make a lot of effort. And instead of asking why is this happening, we often try to see what can I do to fix it. And then you get the classical advice: communicate more, be more patient, try harder, try new things, go to therapy, read a book, talk to a coach. See, all of this is valuable and often it does help to make things better. But sometimes the deeper question is simpler. You can ask yourself, am I able to be honest in this relationship without managing the other person's response? You see, or let me say that because the honesty requires strategy, if that's how you're thinking, then something has already shifted. If you have to choose moments when you need to be honest, if you have to choose language on how to be honest, something has shifted. And often it has shifted irreversibly. At least in the as-is situation, it will never come back to that feel of ease and grace. In such moments, I've often found it useful to look at through with some simple tests. In fact, these are not theories, they are just quick checks that you can do. I'm going to share them with you. I've used them myself. The first is the energy test. And this is my favorite test. The way to think about this is, after I spend time here inside a relationship, do I feel more like myself or less? Not happier, not entertained, okay? Just do I feel more or less aligned to who I am? That's the energy test. Interesting? Okay. Let's move to the second test. That's called the honesty test. It's also a really cool test. The honesty test is very simple. Can I say what is true for me without editing it to keep the peace in the relationship? Or do I find myself choosing words to avoid reaction? Sit with that for a moment. Ready for the third test? The third test really is the growth test. It's one of the most difficult tests. The question to ask is, can I continue to evolve here? Or do I have to stay who I was to continue to belong here? Let me say that a second time. It's a very subtle test. The growth test. Can I continue to evolve here? Or do I have to stay who I was past, to belong? Let's move on to the final test. This is, well, it's the monk in me that likes this test. It's the silence test. When nothing is happening, does this connection still feel real? Or do you have to hold it together only by activity, distraction, or habit? All the conventional wisdom that you should do things that are in common, you should engage, you should do all is in this, which is all great. But when you are in silence, when nothing is happening, do you still feel connected? Does that connection still feel real? These are not easy questions, okay? Well, for easy stuff, you didn't come to my Instagram or YouTube anyway. These are not easy questions, not because the answers to these questions are not clear. Rather, precisely because sometimes the answers are absolutely clear and inconvenient. You realize you care about the person, but the relationship is no longer where you are. Then comes the real question, the difficult question. Do I stay and slowly disconnect from myself? Or do I face what is already true? And I know it to be true. See, the thing is, not every relationship is meant for an end, a dramatic end. But at the same time, not every relationship is meant to continue in the same form. And growth has a way of revealing that. It reveals it quietly but unmistakably. Now, I know what you're going to ask me. So let me begin by saying there is no formula for what to do next. Only honesty and a certain kind of courage. Because sometimes the most difficult thing is not losing a relationship. It is admitting that you have already outgrown who you were within it. And let me close by saying, today is the first day of the rest of your life. You're going to spend the rest of your life in the future. So one way to think about this is, who I am today, does this feel natural? Who am I becoming in the future? What I'm committed to becoming in the future? In that space, does this feel natural? If not, at the very least, you should know that this has become obsolete already. And allow that space to persist. And then the answer will come. Some things will cease to exist. Some things will open up. The rules will relax. There will be more space. The tide of time will take some relationships away. And for the most important ones, it will take some courage and some honesty to reframe them. You don't have to, but you need to remain who you are and who you are becoming. Good luck.